The federal government has directed the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to increase oil production beyond current levels by the end of the year. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Heineken Lokpobiri, gave the directive at the African Energy Forum in Houston, Texas. Mr. Lokpobiri emphasized the need for accelerated growth in the nation's oil production. The forum had the theme Africa's Energy Investment Drive amid global transition to green minerals and clean energy. The minister revealed that the NNPCL has been directed to ramp up production to a 2.5 million barrels per day target. The forum is being attended by delegations from petroleum ministries of Nigeria, Togo, Senegal, Algeria, Ghana, Liberia, and the Gambia. Well, the federal government has begun the implementation of its economic and financial inclusion strategy aimed at improving opportunities for Nigerians. Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Senator Ibrahim Hadija, disclosed this at the inaugural meeting of the Technical Committee of the Presidential Committee on Economic and Financial Inclusion at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The federal government established an interagency task force to address challenges delaying President Bola Tinubu's approved conditional cash transfers to 15 million vulnerable households. The task force includes the National Identity Management Commission, the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, National Cash Transfer Office, Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Interbank Settlement Systems. The goal is to unlock bottlenecks and fast-track the distribution of critical financial support to Nigerians most vulnerable. Nigeria has exited the IMF list of indebted countries, having cleared its debt of $1.6 billion. Nigeria was not listed among 91 developed countries owing the International Monetary Fund a total of $117 billion as of 6th of May 2025. The IMF recently commended Nigeria's ongoing economic reforms, describing them as a bold measure that has helped stabilize the economy and lay the groundwork for future growth. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Digital Engagement and Strategy, New Media, Ogra, in his post on X said the development was a signal of discipline, reforms and strategic reset by the Tinubu-Shettima administration. Said government's restructuring of finances to enable Nigerians to be better placed for a prosperous future. And in other news, Group Chairman of the United Bank for Africa, Mr. Tony Elumelu, has commended the leadership and entire team of the African Finance Corporation, led by Mr. Samalia Zubeiru, for their significant impact on businesses across the continent. Mr. Elumelu made this commendation while he attended the AFC Day in London, where he spoke on the theme, AFC as a gateway to global Africa trade and investment. Mr. Elumelu was one of the founders of the AFC, and in his remarks, he maintained that the AFC must continue to support, develop and finance projects that will impact growth and development across the African continent. Reports show that AFC has invested more than $11.5 billion in infrastructure projects across Africa.
Or to encourage AFC to continue to identify projects and catalyze projects that have scale, impact and relevance for Africa. And no one but us will develop Africa, and AFC is actually helping. I speak not just as a founder, but as also a beneficiary of AFC's catalytic role on the continent, the area of private sector investments. As the chairman of Transcorp Group, one of our investments was in the power sector. We know that access to electricity is very important for the development and transformation of Africa. We invested in that space, but we needed support. And AFC supported, I think, first time was about $120 million. Happy to say we have paid everything, but more important, that support was critical at the time. So thank you very much. And we need more. We need more of such support for the private sector in Africa, especially at a time like this. And when we decided also to go into energy space, we did a $1.1 billion transaction. AFC supported us also, I think, $150 million, which is very well serviced today.
Shares in Asia rose today after United States President Donald Trump flagged a first trade deal in his global tariff war, while the dollar held most of its overnight gains as markets pushed out the chance of near-term rate cuts. Nasdaq futures raised earlier losses to rally a 1.1%, while S&P 500 futures rose 0.8%. European stocks market is set for a higher open, with Pan-European Stock 600 index up 0.9%. President Trump's major trade deal with Britain sent FTSE futures 0.8% higher. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside of Japan edged up 0.3%, while Japan's Nikkei gained 0.5%. Chinese blue chips rose 0.7%. Hong Kong Hang Seng increased 0.8%, recovering ground lost since President Trump's Liberation Day tariff last month as Beijing's rate cuts and stimulus measures helped calm trade concerns. Overnight on Wall Street, stocks rose on reports that the Trump administration was planning to rescind and modify a Biden-era rule that curbed the export of sophisticated artificial intelligence chips. The U.S. Federal Reserve has kept interest rates unchanged, brushing off President Donald Trump's demand to lower borrowing costs. The Reserve Bank kept its benchmark rate at 4.25%, where it has been since December after cutting it 3 times in a row at the end of last year. Fed's chair, Jerome Powell, said the economy remains in a relatively good shape for the moment, warning against higher inflation and rising unemployment.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer-run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
Well, crude oil prices rose today after falling more than $1 in the previous session, supported by hopes of a breakthrough in looming trade talks between the United States and China. The world's 2 biggest oil consumers, U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude, rose to $58.50 per barrel, with an upsurge of 0.74%. Brent sells for $61.50 per barrel, with an upward margin of 0.62%. Bonnie Light sells for $78.62, with a downward margin of 2.84%. And for the OPEC basket, dealers offer $61.81 per barrel, with an uptick of 3.26%. Well, that's business news. Next is sports after this break.